At the moment, it's gonna test the mic.
Okay.
Okay, we're doing a mic check. This is a podium mic, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One, two, test. 1, 2, test. Mic 4. Mic 3. Mic 2.
Oh, thank you.
Microphone 1.
No problem. Oh, thank you.
I'm serious, you were just so impressed.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
I'm serious, you were.
John or
Yes, I can, Ruby, if you can hear me.
or the other. So it's very interesting.
Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
I know, right?
I gotta go.
Finally see, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For roll call this evening, we have Jay Grover, trustee, Nicole Novak, trustee, June District Clerk, Dr. Brian Graham, superintendent, Ashley Dreyer, president, Sue Marston, vice president. We have Joy Lamarca, trustee, Dr. Ruby Harris, assistant superintendent for business and finance. Joining us remotely, we have Cheryl Cardone, assistant superintendent for pupil personnel services. And we do have Glenn Bobek, trustee. We'll be here shortly. Yeah. And Robin is, okay.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here, whether you're watching us virtually and seeing the live stream or here in person today. It gives me pleasure to introduce Dr. Ruby Harris, who will start us off with our budget hearing tonight. Okay, and I know I usually do this part, but I think it's really important for our mission. The mission of the Grand Island Central Schools has always been to foster academic achievement at the highest potential by fostering a student's academic excellence, personal growth, and social responsibility. When we went through our 5-year strategic plan, we added the word inspire, and that is really important. Ruby, if you can go back that one slide. So you can see now that it's just one simple word that I think changes everything, that we expect everybody in the organization to work at our highest potential, whether we are driving kids to school or providing special education services or advanced placement services, or whatever service we aspire to do in this district. The first thing we should be thinking about is our ability to inspire students who then can achieve their highest potential. So the word inspire is very, very important to us as a mission. And of course, throughout the years that I've been here, we've talked a lot about the budget goals, which are to develop a long-term sustainable budget designed to provide the best diversified education program for our students, to retain all community mandated student programs and activities, and by all costs, protect the fund balance every way we can. So we will review some of these recommendations. Hopefully you can see them on your screen or on the screen at home. But really, adding to the program next year, we're looking to add a 0.5 business teacher at our high school, a small stipend for the Where Everybody Belongs program and advisory ship that occurs at our middle school. And some of these notes on our presentation, you can see cost some money and don't cost money because they're worked through internal changes. So you can see that in second grade, youth will gain a teacher going from 4 to 5 sections, and that'll be an internal shift of elementary teachers, and it won't be in addition to the budget. You'll see other items on here like a community relations specialist, which will not be an add to the budget, but changing the way we pay for community relations through Erie One BOCES, and then hiring our own person to save some money there. You'll see an add-on for a behavioral therapist to work with children who have intense needs throughout our district. And again, that is going to be done without adding to the budget. And then there are things that are adding to the budget, such as the assistant superintendent for administrative services or curriculum, instruction, and human resources. Currently, we have a 0.5 person in that position, and we're looking to add to that position to make it a whole position. Interestingly, this is really a net decrease of, for example, last year we had a full-time assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction. That person retired and we did not replace that person. And currently we have a 0.5 or a half-time human resources specialist. So we had a 1.0 assistant superintendent of curriculum, and we have a 0.5 assistant or a director of labor relations. And we're taking a 1.5 and making it a 1. So it's really a decrease of a 0.5, but it is in the budget. So this is a budget hearing. Let me go.
Brian?
Yep.
Jim, there is no question. Can they ask
Well,
questions?
then, let me make a suggestion. People here have questions, and why don't you let us give our questions first, rather than have you folks filibuster for the next half hour, telling us all the wonderful things you're gonna do.
Jim,
We have specific issues.
Jim, we will allow you to ask some questions, but just be patient and let us go through our presentation. Okay, thank you so much for your patience. Appreciate it. So I was just explaining, we had a 1.0 assistant soup. That person retired. We did not replace it. We went without it the whole year. And we have a part-time labor relations. We're taking the 2 positions and making it a whole position. So you can see also we're looking to add a laborer to our operations department, as well as a part-time cleaner. You can see that there's an item on here called capital outlay that allows the district to work on small capital projects every year that cannot exceed $100,000, and we get 74 cents on the dollar back on that. So it's a really good investment. If we have a roof to patch or we have a specific need, we can spend that money and it's in the budget, but it really will only cost us at the end after we expend the money and the work is done. We will get 75 or 74% of the dollars back on that. Additionally, adding to the budget every year are the replacement or additional security cameras that we have in the district. We do have a deficit in food service, so we've been taking from the general fund to pay into that deficit. And here you'll see a $15,000 request to do that next year. And we are adding modified soccer, which has been a community request for many years, and we're able to do that in this budget. Thank you, Ruby. Moving on to the next one, thank you. And then you'll see that there were a lot of requests that we've moved to for future consideration. So you'll see the X's that go down the column that says 2022 and beyond. Those are here for the public to see and our board to see as future requests, but we were unable to accommodate that in this budget. Very good. Ruby, if you could take us through these slides, and then we will definitely open the floor up to questions.
Sure. A couple of things that I wanted to make sure was explained properly. I know after the last budget review, there were some questions even right before the board approved it on what was going on with federal funds versus what was going on with the general fund. So I felt that this was a great way to outline that in a snap view instead of the confusion of the multiple slides that showed it before. So what you will see here is general fund items that are being moved to grant areas. The specific grant is not known yet. We just actually received a little bit of guidance today in reference to a CERD 2 or CCRA's funds, and we're still waiting for the American Rescue Fund allowable access, but some of the guidance has come out that just happened today. But things that we are comfortable saying can be placed in a grant would be salaries, benefits, as has been allowed in the past. And then things that pertain to summer school, that is to help with learning loss, so we know that. And anything COVID related, we're actually waiting to see how far back they're gonna allow that accounting to go. They have not specified that yet, so we're waiting for that in totality. So the total allocation that we foresee right now is about 1.1 million. The next area below that talks about a CERT 2 or CRRSA gives our actual dollar amounts. Now, if you look at these now, they look slightly different than the presentation you saw probably a month ago. These are the final numbers. They were estimates before. They differ about $100,000, maybe a little bit less, but I did think it was important to show where it is now versus where it was when you saw that last presentation. In reference to that, there's a 20% allocation that has to go towards learning loss. That is the only component that we seem to fall in. Other districts fall into additional learning loss grants. There's other layers that they have to follow per our spreadsheet of information from the state. That is the amount that has to deal at least with learning loss. So we know that going into this year and each year thereafter. And then we also put the UPK full day grant information here, which is 478,000. Currently, our allocation is around 110,000. So that will, we will be looking at not only the one classroom we have now becoming full day, but a second classroom becoming full day, and working with any other community components that are incorporated with that. And we're still waiting on, as I expressed, the American Rescue final guidance. Fingers crossed, it'll be out within the next week. Hopefully, we have a meeting next week. So as I get more, I'll update you on that. The next area here shows the bus proposition, which you have seen many times. Nothing has changed here from the last meeting. This just identifies the vehicles that we are wishing to purchase with this proposition. This is proposition number 2, so they do have them as 2 separate. You have your general fund and then top 2 for buses. There is a component in here to replace the Suburban because it is rusted and the underbearing is pretty much out of use. Any questions there, in general and regular fund? This shows the summary of major expenditures, which you will see here, and this is why it looks a little bit different this year than in prior years, is you will see a salary decrease here. And the reason why there is a salary decrease is because, as I expressed a couple slides ago, funds are being moved from what we call general fund expenses to federal. So I did this to properly account for not only you, but myself, as we are learning the different ways in which we will have to report all funds that have been expensed in the general fund. Those areas that I mentioned that were impacted were salaries, and also it was benefits. So you will see benefits here showing an increase of 213,000. At the last presentation, it was over 300,000, but that has also been accounted for to go into the grants. Everything else here is pretty standard in reference to our, we have retirements happening, workers' comp. BOCES had a significant increase as well as debt service. A good portion of the BOCES increase is the BOCES capital project that was approved, and the entirety of the debt service is now time to pay the debt on different capital projects that have been approved, and that debt payment is now coming on. So some things are going from bands to bonds, and some things are new bands for the payment of the project that is finishing up now. This just provides a department area, so you can see everything just in plain sight of where there are increases and where there are decreases. As you know, Dr. Graham mentioned the hiring of a behavioral specialist internally, so you will see a change to special education That's twofold. One, there is a savings there, and two, we had to put the budget component not in special ed, but in salaries now. So it's just moving things to the right parts of the budget. The information for school buildings and district-wide has not changed there. You will see in central administration, the 24,706, that is what was once the community relations that was in BOCES. That's now in the business office area. A lot of this is just for transparency and for remembering on my part when I look back at this in a couple of months to cross-check things. And then you will see on here, the technology part went up. That includes the 35,000 that was requested and included for cameras. And the large area that you see shifts and changes in is debt service. And it talks about the band payment in the premium area and the band payment in the interest area. As we go down, you see the transfer to capital and the food service that I've been mentioned. And then on the revenue side, you also see the increase that happened for state aid. You see the tax levy amount, the tax levy limit that's been accounted for in the 3.21%. And you see the other revenue in reference to the reserve for debt utilization and the slight decrease that happened in sales tax that we have been talking about. So on here, there's no budget gap for us using federal funds to cover areas, and then the revenue components that we anticipate coming in. This allows a deeper view in the area of revenue. So you see the real property tax levy at the top, as well as the 3.21% and what that looks like. And then it gives you a breakdown of what our state aid looks like, what our state building component looks like, the slight decrease in sales tax, as well as the increase in BOCES, because you will receive some aid for that project component, not all of it, but you do receive some, and the reserve for debt. This is the tax cap calculation, and it really just shows how we get to the number in the end, the 1.1 million. Things that I think are important to make sure are known is there is a tax-based growth factor and there is a allowable levy growth factor. Both of those are 1.0123, so sometimes it gets confusing when they're the exact same. Usually they're not the exact same. But both of those things impact your tax cap calculation. And then the other impact, which is the majority of the impact for this, is the 2019 approved capital project. It is prior approved capital projects that debt is still being paid on. Purchasing of buses, and then the June 2019 approved BOCES capital project. Now, I think this slide is always one of my favorites to look at because it tells you really what's going on, what the point of the whole thing is. So here what you will see is what the tax rate has been and where we estimated it to be. So the change is 63 cents. And that change is 3.21%. Now, what I'd like to always make sure is mentioned, if you see here near the bottom, the estimated 2021 that was proposed and voted on was $20.09, which would have been a 44-cent increase. But when all of the information was known, like the assessed values, and the percentages and all those things came in, the actual increase was 13 cents and the rate was $19.78. So I think one of the things to always remember is we're going based on current year's information to make a projection. Those actual numbers will not be known and calculated until about July, and then the board will approve them. And then that information is given back to the assessor and information gets pushed out to the community. And another thing to make note of is because of the tax-based growth factor, something that I learned as a business official as a nice little nugget is anytime it's over 1% in your growth factor, you can feel confident that the overall assessment in your area is going to increase, which means the way in which it spreads out is a little bit better. It should come in more favorable for the taxpayers than not. This is the required fund balance review. We include this in every meeting starting in March. And this tells you where we anticipate things being. We anticipate using the capital reserve and it actually probably is used as of to date because we've accounted for that in the current project. We will use the debt service reserve to free up money to help account for some of the expenses of the capital project. And then you have our other reserve components. You have EBLAR, which is the employee benefit accrued liability, ERS and TRS. My hope is to begin funding TRS as well as the self-funded health insurance reserve, but we'll see how the year ends out during audit. And then this is just the final picture. You will see that the difference to tax cap is 0, but I also wanted to be transparent with the federal aid coverage that I've shown in a prior slide to show it here. So that's just for informational purposes. So we have a balanced budget at $67,118,207. And this is just our calendar, so be sure to vote on the 18th.
Let's go to questions though. Jim, I think you had your hand up first. Oh, sure, Joy, yeah.
Actually, I just was wondering if you would explain why we need to purchase new buses, what happens to the buses that are retired in the district, and so they understand proposition. Thank you.
So we are on a bus replacement plan. I know that the bus replacement plan has existed at least with Teresa Lisa Day. I can't speak prior to that. I wasn't here prior to that, but we are on a bus replacement plan. So the things that are taken into consideration is the miles that are on the buses. There are inspections that happen annually in reference to the buses. So are they worth keeping at times, right? Is the amount of repairs that need to be done to the bus cheaper than actually going out and purchasing a new bus? We do have a mechanics group, which is fabulous at Grand Island, and they keep our buses up and running, and they are the people that will change things out when a bus breaks down. So their input is also taken into consideration along with the mileage. How have they been running? What are your issues? Once a bus is deemed non-usable, so it will go before the board and it's not exit them,
They go up to auction maybe?
yes, but before that, the board approves. Absolutely, yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
So the board will approve the list of buses or vehicles to be declared obsolete. Once they are declared obsolete, those things, buses and vehicles, then go onto a site called Auctions International. That's what we've been using at least the last couple of years. And then they will be auctioned off. So that usually comes back favorable for the district, especially with our trucks. The trucks were getting at least half, if not more, back than what we purchased them years before. So it's still a revenue component. It helps offset some areas of the budget, but there is a replacement plan. We look at that replacement plan every year to see, do things need to be replaced? That was one of the things that came up even this year. Given that last year was a different end of the school year and this year has been quite different as well, did we need as many vehicles? And one of the components was the Suburban that was brought up and the fact that the whole underbelly of it is shot. So the give component was, okay, well, I don't need 6 buses, but I do need this replacement. So we did allow that.
And safety is an issue.
Yes,
Safety of the children
yes,
riding on the buses.
yes,
That possibly the repairs.
yes.
Jim, I think you had a question?
Well, I have a couple, but I also have one point of clarification. On the van, interest in van premium. You really mean principal where you said premium?
Did I say premium?
Well, on the chart it says premium, but it really looks like you're talking about a principal payment. Yeah,
Oh, yes, you are correct. I apologize for
Okay,
that.
fine.
Yes.
okay. I have two issues here. Now, you're just thing here showing what you're planning on Proposition 2. If we go back to Proposition 2 in 2007, it was very explicit. 3 passenger buses at 10,000, 1 30-passenger at 881, 1 wheelchair accessible at 94, and 2 plow trucks. Now, this year's proposition just says you're authorized to acquire various school buses and vehicles and to expend therefore an amount not to exceed $710,000. There is nothing in this proposition to prevent you from going out and buying BMWs for the administration or other squad cars. Now, I mean, why was there a change from a very clear way of doing things?
So can you reference again the year?
This one was 2007. I used to vote for these things all the time because I knew what we were buying. Now, I have no idea what we're getting.
Sure. Jim,
It's not,
so this is what we're proposing to
that's
purchase.
not what's in the proposition that we're voting at.
So let me just
Brian?
add one more thing for you, and Ruby, you can help clarify. We are held to a legal standard to publish in the newspaper the proposition 45 days, I think, prior to the vote. And sometimes what we publish in the paper occurs before the Board of Education approves the final budget. So I just want to make sure that you know that what you see on the screen is
They were able to do it years ago. I'm sure you knew which buses you were gonna get at that point. I can
It's right here.
understand you might not know retirements.
No, but it's right here. This is exactly what we plan on doing.
It is not what we are voting on, Brian. That is the problem.
All right.
We are voting
I
on
understand
something and allowing you
Right.
to have basically
So
a debit card to go
I'm
on a
just
month.
saying this is exactly what we plan to do, right here. So I would be happy, Ruby and I would be happy to talk to you at greater length about this issue.
Ms. Lamarca, you're an attorney. The proposition states X. It doesn't state that. If you have lots of discretion based on what we are voting on. Am I right or am I wrong?
The Board of Education has approved what you see right there.
No, time out.
And what
The
Brian-
proposition states that you're authorized to acquire various buses and vehicles. It doesn't say,
I understand
Boom,
what
boom,
you're
boom.
saying about the verbiage, and what Brian is saying is that verbiage was published before what you see over here was voted on. So what you see is what is actually going to be voted on. No one's buying BMWs, no one's buying other vehicles outside of what you see here.
let me
And
tell
Brian
you,
is
people out in the
offering you
community
opportunity for you to speak
are
to him
questionable.
directly. Thank you.
Second thing, one of the big complaints about education countrywide at all levels is administrative bloat. We have student populations are not growing, classroom instructors are level or down, but administration is through the roof. Now, yeah, you're going to go from 1.5 to 1.
That's correct.
But you have department heads, you have assistant principals, you have principals, you have yourself. The new curriculum, the state sets the curriculum. What is this person gonna do? I mean, what did the other person do that was doing it full time?
Sure.
And now, it's
Jim, are you
hard to
ready?
justify this.
Are you ready for me to respond?
Well, let me finish my question, Brian. You always cut me off.
I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead, finish your question.
That we don't need this position. Organizations out in the real world learn to do things more efficiently. Why can't the educational world? Go ahead.
Thank you, Jim. So when I got here, we had an assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, a full-time position. Okay, that person just retired last year. Also, when I arrived, I recommended hiring a full-time human resources person. When that person left, we replaced it by a 0.5. Okay, when the assistant superintendent for curriculum left, we didn't replace it this year. Okay, so we are conscious of doing everything we can to streamline the work. This new position is curriculum and human resources together. So we are actually becoming more efficient in my perspective.
Yes, from the standpoint of where you were before, the question is, were you efficient? Does that make sense? As I said, you've got department heads, you got assistant principals, you got principals, you have yourself, and the state sets the curriculum. What does this person do all day?
I think I just described what the two jobs are combined into one, and I'd be happy to talk to you at greater length about it. Even tomorrow, Jim, you can give me a call. I appreciate the question. Do we have any more questions about our presentation today? I want to thank you for being here tonight. It really is important to us to hear from the community. We really definitely appreciate the feedback. And Ruby, I want to thank you for your presentation. And Ashley, if it's okay, we can transition to the public board meeting.
For the roll call, we could have it reflect that Robin McCreary, trustee, is excused as well. Just a couple announcements, if you could turn off your cell phones, silence your cell phones rather. There's also an emergency exit directly behind me and directly in front of me in case we have to leave unexpectedly. If I could have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening, May 10th, 2021, please. And a second? All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 6-0. And if I could have a motion to approve the minutes from April 20th, 2021, please.
I will make a motion.
And a second? All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 6-0. We have some student ambassadors here with us this evening. We have Maya Rizzo from the middle school that will give us an update on the goings on at our middle school.
Hello, my name is Maya Rizzo. I am in 7th grade and the multimedia specialist of the Student Council at the middle school. The Student Council has had many fun online activities for all grades to participate in. Some of these events are the March Madness Trivia Contest and Dress Up Days. On March 25th and March 26th, students and teachers wore green by showing awareness for Cerebral Palsy Awareness Day. On March 30th and April 1st, students and staff wore red for Autism Awareness Acceptance Day. Last Wednesday, we had a student council meeting and began planning our end of the year events. In May, we will be having a ping pong ball race. Students will be able to purchase a numbered ping pong ball, which we will then roll down the ramp next to the cafeteria. Whichever one makes it down first will win a prize. The money we raise from this event will be put back into the school for a special event later this year. We're also helping to beautify the flower bed around the Veronica Connor Middle School sign. Students will be cleaning up the area and planting new flowers to welcome visitors to our school. This year was hard to plan events, but we have come up with some great ideas for all VCMS students to enjoy. Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Maya. And do we have a representative from the high school? Yep. Abhishek Selvakumar to give us an update on the senior high school happenings.
Hi, I'm Avi Selvakumar. I'm a junior at Grand Island High School, and so I want to talk to you today a little about some of the events going on. I was featured on the April edition of the Rising Star Show, which was a musical audition for the top talents in Western New York. And so normally I would have gone and done a recording, but due to COVID, we could not do this in person. So I submitted a virtual recording, and I am now featured on the YouTube channel of that show. I also took the SAT in November, and I just took it again last Saturday. My score on the SAT in November was a 1540 out of 1600. And now,
Abby, hold on a minute. So Abby is one of our more outstanding students. He is 11th grade. Not only does he participate in the band, soccer, tennis, he plays premier soccer in Western New York. He is an amazing musical student and an amazing academic mind. But Abby, did you say you got an SAT score of 1,540?
yes.
Yes.
Now that's impressive.
Out of 1,600?
Yeah.
So the question I want to know is, where are you applying to college?
We are,
You're going wherever you want to go.
we are so proud of you, Abby. Let's give a big round of applause. That is amazing. And so you're really here though because of this musical talent that you have as well, right?
Yeah. I played the trombone. I've been in wind ensemble since I was a freshman. So.
That's awesome. So there's a lot of accolades. Your family must be extremely proud of you.
I hope so.
So we interrupted you, Abby. Do you have any other high school news?
Yes, I do. So on Thursday, April 29th, 19 students celebrated with 17 honorees in our annual Celebration of Inspiration. The celebration is a tradition where seniors honor someone who has been instrumental within their school career. Senior prom tickets have gone on sale. The prom will be held on Saturday, June 5th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Niagara Falls Country Club. Senior class day and post-prom are combining on Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. The students will be treated with awards, lunch, a hypnotist, and prize giveaways. And also, spring sports have started and they're going well. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
We'll hear back from you very soon.
Yeah, we will. I didn't get my question answered though. Where is Avi applying to school next year? Or to school when he's a senior? Where would you like to go to college?
So I haven't really decided yet, but I am going to try and apply to some Ivy League schools. I'm not sure which one yet, but I'm looking at them. So
That's a great idea. Well, we'll be interested to hear where you end up, especially with an outstanding SAT score of a 1540. Congratulations.
thank you.
You're welcome. Well, we have more recognition and good news. We have with us Morgan Malish, an outstanding athlete who is a competitive gymnast and recently had a state championship meet April 16th. Did you?
Actually, Morgan, I mean, I saw it all over social media. Maybe if you could stand and if you don't mind, just come to the podium. We know you're a state champion, but maybe you could give us the details of what level and what areas.
I'm an Excel gymnast at Stumps. I'm an Excel Platinum, and at my state meet, I won vault, bars, and all around. And I'm going to regionals this Sunday. I'm the top 7 in the state and representing New York.
Wow, so you're going to regionals too. That's fantastic. Yeah. We're very proud of you. My daughter was a gymnast. I know how hard you have to work to achieve what you've achieved. And you're doing pretty good in school too, right?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty
good. Good.
Yeah.
Good answer.
And you're a swimmer too.
Yeah, I swim for the varsity team. We just finished the season on Saturday.
Awesome. So you do it all. We do it all. So out of approximately, I have a little bit of stats here. It says out of approximately 210 gymnasts that competed, you had the 5th highest all-around score, which means you'll be a member of the New York State Super 7 team. The top 7 gymnasts in the entire state make this team, which will compete in May at the regional championships. So we will be looking to see how you make out there, and managing 2 sports, gymnastics and swimming, and keeping good grades. We are incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank
Good luck. Renee. All right, we have another bit of recognition. We have Dr. Palachi with us, who recently defended her dissertation. Dr. Graham, did you want to talk about that?
Yes, I would. Congratulations, Felicia. So I just want to recognize our Kegabine principal for successfully defending her dissertation on April 14th. I'm sure, as everyone knows, the amount of work, intellect, tenacity, and dedication that's required to pursue and then attain the doctorate is significant. And for Dr. Palachi to achieve this goal while also completing her first year as a principal is extraordinary. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Palachi. Doc, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Dr. Graham. And I just would like to say thank you for all of the support and encouragement. There were times I didn't think that I was going to get through it, but with the wonderful individuals at Grand Island being so supportive and encouraging, I finished. So thank you.
That's great. And Dr. Palachi, I know that Ruby Harris, who also has her doctorate, was a support for you. And you attained this at Niagara University, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's great. And so did Dr. Harris, which is awesome. And
She was very helpful.
did your mom at least watch the defense?
She did. She was on there. Yep.
She's also very proud of you. So congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I bet it feels great to be done. Great to be finished and enjoy the summer.
Yes, I'm very excited.
This brings us to our public comment session. These are for agenda items only. At this time, public comments are invited from those individuals who desire to address the Board of Education on any topic which is on the agenda. Residents who have previously signed up to speak will be recognized by the president. When speaking, please identify yourself first. Speak clearly and loudly enough for everyone in the room to hear you. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to no more than 3 minutes. To appoint a spokesperson if the concern is a group concern, and if necessary, to supplement any verbal presentations with written reports. Personal comments toward a member of the community, toward staff, toward the Board of Education will not be considered appropriate. All right. We do not have anyone signed up. Sorry, we do not have anyone signed up, so we are moving on to curriculum and instruction. Nothing there. Personnel instructional. If I could have a motion to approve PI 1 through PI 4, please.
I'll motion.
In a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 6-0. Did you want to do some introduction?
Yeah, I think Mr. Loria, if you could start us off with an introduction. I think I'll follow.
That sounds good. Just making sure it works. I'm very excited to introduce to everybody tonight our new high school assistant principal. I'm going to ask John Latanzio to stand up, please. We had a pretty intense interview process over the course of the last month. We had 60 applicants for the position. I think it was 4 rounds in total, maybe by the end of the process. And the finalist that really stood out for us was John, and he is an experienced teacher leader. He's a math teacher currently at the Charter School for Applied Technology, but he's also well involved in many different projects, professional learning communities, coaching, even helping evaluate teachers. So John has been mentored there very, very well, and it certainly showed in the process. We're excited to have him here. I know that he is going to fit in with our team very, very well. And again, I want to let him have the chance to introduce himself to you as well. So congratulations, John. And his wife here, Jessica, you want to stand up. Jessica has actually worked with us before as a summer school teacher as well. So we're excited to see her back.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. John Latanzio, and this is my wife, Jessica. So it's funny is Jess actually grew up on the island, and we both have a lot of family here. So we know how much of a tight-knit community Grand Island is. And I'm very excited to have landed this position. I'm very fortunate. So I look forward to joining the team and getting started the prep for next school year.
That's great, congratulations. We have another introduction tonight. If I could invite Mr. Antonelli to come up to the podium while I introduce you, that would be great. And also, I know your family is with you, so if they feel comfortable and want to come up too, that would be wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, Board of Education and our community, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Michael Antonelli as the new principal of Sidway Elementary School starting July 1. Mr. Antonelli taught phys ed and health for 6 years at Lewiston Porter before becoming an assistant principal at Heim Middle School in Williamsville. And that middle school, I think, Mike, is grades 5 through 8, right? Excellent. Mr. Antonelli believes in building meaningful relationships with students, families, and staff, and that really is his main priority. He believes that academic, personal, and social success is only possible when a school culture is congenial, collegial, and student-centered. Additionally, he strives to create an environment where everyone feels valued and where everyone can reach their fullest potential. So, Mr. Antonelli, if you'd like to just share a little bit more about yourself, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to stand before you tonight as I become a Viking once again. I moved to Grand Island in first grade. I had 3 younger brothers all go through the school system. So it's fantastic to come full circle. I'd also like to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Graham, and each member of the committee with whom I've had the pleasure of meeting along the way. The number of Grand Island teachers and staff that have played a role in my presence here tonight extends far beyond the interview committee. Not that long ago, although probably longer than I'd like to admit, we did move to Grand Island. I was enrolled at Hughes Road Elementary School. I'll never forget a bald-headed, 180-pound Mr. Carney, fresh out of Army Reserves, student teaching with Mr. Worthling. As I look back 28 years later, I realized I wrestled for him for 12 years, coached with him for 4 years while attending college, and then coached against him for 7 years. And since I was 7 years old, I consider him a friend and a mentor. These types of interactions and relationships I've developed and maintained through my years here at Grand Island with so many teachers, staff members, coaches, and administrators are the reason I love education, helping others to discover their passion and talents, and why I couldn't be more proud to be back home. Every child deserves to be excited about their education, coming to school each day, and the adults that they interact with. As a parent of a child beginning kindergarten at Sidway this fall, I'm incredibly thankful for the tradition of academic excellence and social emotional support for families that Mrs. Dunbar has pioneered. Upon hearing of her retiring, I wanted to ensure that this tradition and great work continued for our children. With the amazing team of professionals and teachers at Sidway, I'm excited to see what we can accomplish together. Thank you for your support and the opportunity to serve our community.
That's great, congratulations. Just one more second. I know, Mr. Antonelli, there's some people around the podium that maybe you'd like to introduce us to.
Absolutely. This is my wife, Carly Antonelli. She's a middle school health and phys ed teacher here at Grand Island. This is my daughter, Jocelyn, who's also going to be starting Sidway with me in September.
Wow.
And this is my son, Jace, who will be attending pre-K this year and Sidway the year after.
That's fantastic.
So we are all excited to all be here in Grand Island together.
That's great. Mr. Bovek?
Is Mr. County still balding?
I don't know about that.
Got a little more hair now than he did out of the reserves.
But I'll tell you, Mike, one of the things that struck me very powerfully during the final interview was your how you attributed your success to the people who mentored you along the way. Mr. Carney was one, and there were many others. And you know, earlier today we talked about inspiring, and that's part of our mission, and I can see that in you right away. So we're very excited to welcome that into our district. And on a final note, all of our new hires should always look, there's a wonderful ice cream place. I think it's Adrian's. And I don't know, but Jocelyn and Jace deserve an ice cream with sprinkles tonight. So just wanted to mention that, just in case you weren't thinking about that.
Thank you so much. I'm sure they won't turn you down.
Thank you, Jocelyn and Jace, for coming tonight. It's great to see you. You're welcome. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Can we, John and Jessica, can you come up to the podium again? I just forgot to grab a photo of the two of you. Thank you. And you also can follow them over to Adrian's. That's perfect. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Okay, moving on to personnel non-instructional. If I could have a motion to approve non-instructional PNI 1 and PNI 2, please.
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried, 6-0. And now that brings us to finance with Dr. Harris.
Okay, so that brings us to finance, and there are 3 items that require action, and the other areas are informational. The first component you will see on here is the disposal bid award. That happens, we actually receive bids from different companies. Those are reviewed between the buildings and grounds, and my secretary actually got to see all of that happen and assist this year. So that is the recommendation for award. You will also see budget transfers over $15,000. The only general fund item is transfer for textbook funds, and that is for the purchase of Nearpod. Nearpod runs across multiple grade levels. If you ask anything beyond that, I would have to find Robin to tell you that answer. But it was something that was requested from multiple grade levels. We were able to do it, so we're using textbook funds to implement that. And then the last board meeting, you approved the corrective action plan. I, for the first time, received a comment back from the state saying that I did not address the old recommendations. I did reach out to them because I said I didn't do it last year either. So I just like to gather additional information. They are reviewing them a bit differently now and moving forward. I think the requirements are changing a bit, so they are cracking down on what is acceptable and what is not. So what you will see here is the inclusion of those prior year recommendations as well as comments. Some of those things have already been implemented. Some of those things we have repeated year after year, like ticketing every sporting event that people come for. It's just not going to happen, but it's such a small or minor risk for the auditors that it's okay not to do it. So I reference that in there as well. Upon your approval of that, I'll submit it back to the state, and it will address every comment that was mentioned in the communication letter from the auditors. And then you will see, as you want to approve A, B, and C?
Yeah, sure. If I could have a motion to approve items A through C, please.
I'll motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 6-0.
Okay. Item D is the check warrant information. E is the treasurer's report, along with F being the revenue status report. G is our extracurricular report that usually happens roughly quarterly for the board. H is in reference to certificates of occupancy, and I is budget transfers that were under 15,000. Does anybody have any questions in those areas? Okay, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. That brings us to special education with Cheryl Cardone.
Thank you. I just have 2 quick items tonight. Program recommendations for our CSE and our CPSE. And I will say that we are officially done with our CSE annual reviews for the season. So now we're on to summer school. So if I could have action on those items, please, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Motion for A and B, please.
I'll move.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we do not have anything under policy, so that brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to present some slides that I shared with our parent and community stakeholders on April 15th. This was a frequently asked question presentation that we did. I think there were well over 200 people that watched online. And the intent of this presentation on April 15th was to share with the community the New York State Department of Health guidance that was received on April 9th. So just to remind the board and the community, that guidance insists that we follow the CDC recommendations for physical distancing, and that schools must adhere to the expectations where a minimum of 6 feet of distancing must be maintained. Oops. Okay, yep. And additionally, they indicated that due to evidence of transmission risks by age of the student, the CDC recommended physical distancing requirements could differ by grade level based on the transmission risk in the county. Evidence also indicated that there was a lower susceptibility of COVID-19 being transmitted with young elementary students, but a little bit higher risk for our teenagers. So the CDC and the New York State Department of Health breaks up the risk into 4 categories. There is low and moderate risk, and then substantial risk, and then high risk. I want to show the board this chart that comes from the CDC. When I explained this on April 19th, Erie County was listed in the high transmission risk category, which meant that there were more than 100 persons or 100 total new cases per 100,000 people in Erie County over 7 days. So if we look at the language here, it says in counties with high risk of transmission, elementary schools can maintain physical distancing of at least 3 feet. And so of course, everybody knows that all of our elementary students are here 5 days a week with 3 feet of distancing between them at all of our elementary buildings. This guidance from New York State Department of Health said that if you were in middle and high school, you could not do 3 feet of distancing if the county transmission rate was at its highest level, and that we must maintain 6 feet of distancing unless we were cohorting. So I just wanted to give that background information. At the time of this presentation, I showed the community how to go to the website, how to find Erie County, and how to identify the transmission risk at that time. As you can see on this chart, on April 6th, the transmission, it was at 337 total new cases per 100,000. So that, you can see the small arrow was going up at the time. And I want to bring you to the most recent data. This is from April 13th, and at that time there were 382 total new cases per 100,000. And then May 8th, there were 118 total new cases, and then the most recent information that we have is from May 9th at 113 total new cases. So you can see that from April 13th to May 9th, we are seeing a decrease in the total new cases in Erie County. And some think that this will continue to decrease, and that we might see this number going to 100 or below 100 this week or early next week. So I do want to share with our community that if this does go down to 100 or less, we will be inviting back our secondary students because they will be allowed to, it'll move from red to orange, and then we will be able to follow the 3 feet of distancing, which is shown here as substantial risk. In counties with substantial risk of transmission, elementary, middle, and high schools can maintain physical distancing of at least 3 feet between students and classrooms. So we're pretty confident that right now it looks really good that we are going to see those levels go out of red and into orange or some other category after that. So it's very important for the board and our community to know that our transportation department is preparing to bring kids back. We think we will be ready by next Wednesday to start bringing all kids back, grades 6 through 12, if the community transmission rate is below 100 over the 7-day average. Does anybody at the table here have any questions about that?
Dr. Graham, can you tell us just quickly how that 3 feet of distance would impact if there was a case in a classroom or with quarantining, just so that
Yeah, that's an excellent question.
how that will work?
Yeah, excellent. So even though the community transmission rate has gone down over the last week or so, we've had some cases of individuals being identified as positive with COVID-19 in some of our schools. When that happens, we work collaboratively with the Erie County Department of Health to contact trace. And the contact tracing rule is if you're within the infected individual 6 feet or less for, I think it's 10 to 15 minutes or more, then the children or adults who are considered a close contact will then have to quarantine. So it may not be the entire classroom, but it would be the individuals who are in close contact with the person who was infected with COVID.
Thank you.
Sure. And Cheryl, okay, 1 second. Cheryl, did I say that correctly? Cheryl Cordova.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You did.
COVID czar. Okay, Nicole, go ahead.
So how will their virtual learning work? If you want to stay home, will they have stay home 100% for the rest of the year, like elementary?
Yeah.
Will they keep their same teachers, or will they have a different teachers?
So just let me hear the first part of your question, because
Sorry.
I wasn't sure if you were talking about the students who are currently 100% remote, or are you talking about a child who is
Someone
quarantined?
who is currently hybrid, what will their option be when we come back?
Yeah. So that alone is come back full.
Okay,
Right.
they don't want to come back full, they would switch to 100% virtual?
They could do that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And will the 100% virtual students that are currently 100% or ones that switch, will they maintain their same teachers and those teachers will still live stream? Is that?
Sure. I think we're expecting kids who are 100% virtual to stay 100% virtual. We, of course, are open to listening and learning if there is a request to come back full. And that would flow through our principals to make certain that they're welcome to do that, which I don't see why we wouldn't welcome them back if we can invite all the kids back anyways. So it would be by case basis. Some families have said, absolutely not, they're going to stay 100% virtual for the rest of the year, but I think we should be able to accommodate the kids who want to come back.
One more question, will coming back 5 days have any impact on the instruction for the full virtual?
I guess, yes. So right now, they're on Wednesdays, the secondary teachers are able to bring everybody together for a period of time virtually. So that would be a change. What it would evolve to or transition to is that 100% virtual student would just log in at their scheduled time to see the live stream anyways. So in one sense, yes, that community that's been created on Wednesdays in the virtual world changes, but that child still has access to the live stream every period.
So if a child is under quarantine, for their classes during the time of quarantine, they will be logging in and doing their live stream during the quarantine?
Yeah. So yes, and there'd be some qualifications. So if you're in first grade, right, and you're quarantined, you may end up having a virtual teacher for 10 days, right? And because the current teacher is not live streaming. So at the secondary level, though, all the teachers are expected to live stream. So whether I'm quarantined or 100% virtual, I still have access to that instruction.
And their IEP services are actually, at least I can speak to the first grader, are live when they're under a
They are live?
They are live,
Yeah.
AIP services.
Great.
So there were designated times for a child that I know that had it, and they were able to get their services through, and the teachers worked great.
Wonderful.
To be able to work with each other for time, so that way a child, if they had IEP and they were on a quarantine, they were still getting their services live through.
Kind of like a telehealth or
Yeah.
That's excellent. So that's a testament to our teachers and principal and Cheryl Cardone for helping organize that.
So Brian, I expect that not only us, but other schools will get some notice from someone over the next short period of time that we've reached a level whereby we're under the 100 level, time-wise, and therefore we are then, going to fully open to the full extent that we can.
That's correct. Yep.
Thanks.
Oh, no, I'm glad we were able to.
I've got a notebook. So I know right now, we have middle school and high school at separate times. Are we keeping separate times? Because I know previously they were at one time, so are we keeping them separate for now, then too, if we come back?
Yep, so nothing changes with the start and end times of our schools.
And if the kids come back full time, are we going to start having after-school buses for some of the activities that they're coming to after school, or?
I don't think so. Yeah, I would say, my best guess is no right now. And it is a challenge because we have stretched out the day, right? Now, I know Mr. Fitzpatrick might work with Mr. Loria, say at the middle school, to see, and Mrs. Aliza Day, to say, hey, this group of kids need X, right? And they can only get X from the end of the middle school day, for 30 minutes. So the question for Mr. Fitzpatrick might be, can this group of students jump on a high school bus and go home, right? That is a possibility for the middle school. At the high school, it gets a little bit more intense because those buses now are picking up Youth and Kegamine and Sidway, the day is just a little bit longer. So to be able to schedule shuttle buses this year, between now and the end of the year, might be a challenge. Okay.
That's it,
I do want to show this to you just in conclusion. Oh, actually, I have a couple more things. So as you know, I keep track of the week-to-week net change. I want to thank Karen Surdike for working with me on this early on in the school year. It may be hard to see on the screen, but as you know, I've talked a lot about this. Every week we see a change in our Grand Island community when more individuals have been identified on the entire island, not just our school district. It's easier to follow the path of the chart. So this line represents the beginning of the school year. So the week-to-week net change of COVID-19 on the entire island was minimal. There was a little bit of a spike here and then minimal. And then you see the big change, from the end of October, right, through January. This was a little spike in January again. And then you see this rapid decline, a little bit of a spike, and this point here. This point here represents the lowest it's been in the entire school year. So for example, here you might see 2.6 or 1.9% change or 1.8% change, and then a 7%, and then 2s, and then 12, 14, 23, 29%, right? But right here, last week, it went from 2.1 to 1.3% net change on the island. So this is really good news, right? If this stays the same, this kind of makes sense. It aligns well with what Erie County is seeing as an entire county, and it just seems to make sense that we're seeing the same thing here on Grand Island. The last thing I'll just share with the board, in this presentation to the community, I wrote and said that earlier this week I indicated that we would keep the barriers. I said to the community, I'm getting a lot of feedback regarding requests to remove these barriers, and that I told the community on this date that I would visit the elementary schools. So right now, as you can see around this table, the barriers have been removed. The barriers are being removed from all of our classrooms. We still have them in our cafeterias because we're still just a little nervous about our cafeterias and children being unmasked and sitting close to each other. So that you'll still see them in the cafeterias, but in all the classrooms, they're gone. Okay. So thank you. I did want to share that. And one last pitch is that I think Mrs. Marston told me on the way in today that Pfizer is now approved for our 12 to 15-year-olds in the United States. And of course, it's always been approved for 16 to 18. Jude and myself and the high school and lots of people in our community have been working together on different vaccination opportunities for people in our community. I don't know, Jude, if you have any updates tonight on anything? Okay, so Jude just said that there's a possibility for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on Saturday. If it comes to reality, we'll send an email blast out to the community. Working with Erie County, we're looking at some dates in May where they will come to our school and provide Moderna and Pfizer on the same day. And then they've already penciled in the second shot of Moderna and the second shot of Pfizer. So it's penciled into our calendar. We're not quite ready to announce it yet. We're just waiting for final confirmation from Erie County. And I know another pharmacist has reached out to us wanting to help, and Cheryl Cardone is working on us a possible another project through the Niagara Falls Convention Center. So really the big message is to get vaccinated. The Erie County Department of Health is created a special flyer for the athletes in the community. One of the things that the Erie County Department of Health is seeing is that sometimes the students who compete and travel, and whether they're traveling within the state or out of state, for whatever reason, they're still seeing a spike in transmission of COVID with athletic teams. So they're publishing this big flyer, just trying to educate the athletes in the community to consider getting vaccinated so that when they are able to participate in their events, they're not paused, they're not, kids are not put on quarantine in their high school season or their premier season outside of the school is affected negatively because of transmission.
Dr. Graham, that Saturdays that you are thinking about in the future for the Pfizer and Moderna, I know with Pfizer approving age 12 to 15, I know in the past you've had 16 to 18 if they have a parent with them, the students could be vaccinated. Will we consider doing that for 12 to 15 with a parent attending?
Excellent question. Right now, I know that a parent could be in attendance or fill out a waiver,
Okay.
but I'm not sure if that is true for 12 to 15. So we'll have to wait and learn about that.
Okay, we'll stay tuned on that. Thanks.
And then to wrap up tonight, I'm going to ask Mr. Loria and Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mrs. Dunbar and Mrs. Palachi, or Dr. Palachi and Mr. Picula, just to share with the board just an update in this COVID update for you, the end of the year happenings such as proms and graduations, just where they stand today and some of our plans. So Mr. Loria, if you could start us off, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll start. Obviously, planning end of year events is an anxious topic for most of us, and we are very cognizant of the fact that our students have had a challenging couple of years dealing with the pandemic and all it has meant to them, personal lives or social lives. And they get back to when we were in high school, we took a lot of the things that we had for granted. So we are working really hard to try to make the end of year events as special as possible. We have a junior prom that unfortunately had to be canceled due to low ticket sales. We worked really hard to try to get kids to attend. We are still planning to have our senior prom. Our senior prom tickets and ads all went up today, so those should be on sale. Our senior prom currently is being held at the Niagara Falls Country Club, which is in Lewiston. And we went to visit the site last week. We're working with their employee who is a Grand Island graduate, so she understands how important this is to high school students. And we got some good news lately in that the guidance for dancing has been updated, and beginning June 1st, there are some options for dancing that will be a lot different maybe than we're used to, but still better than they were anticipated to be. As well as our indoor venue numbers, as you saw in some of the recent guidance, has increased, which means that means there's a better chance, depending on how many tickets we sell, whether we're going to have it in 2 sittings or 1 sitting. And we're going to wait and see and make those determinations. So we're working with the venue to try to go through that. As you know, in planning any events, weddings, whatever it is, you're always working with the venue, and their interpretation might be slightly yours. So in a sense, it's kind of a back and forth until we get to a happy place. And I know that a lot of parents, I want to thank them for being patient, because as we go through these changes, there's no clear answers. Every single day it changes, and every single day, I will say, at least it's getting better, moving in the right direction. So that's good. Our graduation as of right now, unfortunately, we had a deposit down at Kleinhans, but Kleinhans would only be able to accommodate a virtual ceremony. They were not able to accommodate the guests for our students, and so we made the decision to have the graduation at the Beaver Island State Park like we have in the past, which is a drive-through ceremony similar to what we did last year. Our conversations with Beaver Island have been very positive. They're again being very accommodating. We believe that there might be some more strict. They might be a little bit more strict about people staying in their cars this year, because that's one of the things they've mentioned to us. However, it is the one place that we can have graduation and ensure that everyone is there together all at once. A lot of people have asked about the football field. A lot of parents have called and inquired about that. Our concern with the football field is, like many other schools, we have too big of a class to be able to do it in one sitting. It would have to be spread out to multiple sittings of graduation, multiple sessions. And overwhelmingly, I think the majority of people have indicated that they want to have it in one place, in one location. We are planning a modified class day. It's Wednesday the 16th. It's going to change a little now because we'll have students back in school. We're projecting that we're likely to have students back in school. So we will be doing a picnic lunch that day. We will be giving out our senior class awards that day. Some of the awards will be pre-recorded videos that our departments do, but some of the awards will be given out in person, like our PTSA awards, I think, definitely are awards that I would coordinate from some of our bigger scholarships. I think a GICSD scholarship perhaps will be in person. So it's going to be a little bit of a combination. So we're really excited about having more of our traditional events at the end of the year. As always, there's a lot of incorrect information out there. So if anyone has questions, we encourage you to call our office, our advisors, or us to get some clarification. So that's what's a lot coming up. That's what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Larian. Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Yes, sir. I want to say that we have a lot of events that are being planned and trying to give a sense of normalcy back to our students. So this week, on Thursday and Friday, we have the 8th grade honors assembly. It was formerly a breakfast, but this year will be an honors assembly taking place in our auditorium for the A to L students on Thursday, the M to Z students on Friday. It's student only. However, it's going to be a live stream event for parents and any guests that they would like to have on the live stream. Then that afternoon, we're going to have a modified schedule so our talent show can take place. That will also be live streamed. We have live performers in the auditorium, and this live stream will go to all of the classrooms so that they can participate in watching the talent show this Friday. We are super excited to bring back in-person 5th grade tours. I want to thank Mr. Buffamani and our counseling staff, led by Mrs. Cordero, and our 5th grade teachers in helping make those happen. In-person tours for our 5th grade students coming into 6th grade. So we're certainly excited about that. Then we have a lot of music performances that will take place this month and next month. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade bands will perform May 26th. That, of course, will be live streamed. However, with the number of musicians we have, we'll be able to invite a select number of guests into the auditorium to watch their kids perform. The chorus, however, we're combining a chorus concert between 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and the numbers are so large in chorus, the event will only be live streamed. We would not have the space to bring invited guests in. The middle school orchestra will perform on June 8th. That's, of course, live stream with invited guests. We'll have a middle school musical on June 11th and 12th. They're going to perform 4 performances between 5 and 8 each evening on Friday and Saturday night. And tickets will be sold so we can have guests in person at a good social distancing for all seats. And then finally, we will have our 8th grade awards and moving up ceremony due to the class size, particularly if we are going to, which we're all predicting we'll probably head to a 5-day-a-week model. We would not be able to invite families into the auditorium to keep everyone at a good social distance, but it will be live streamed on either June 21st or 22nd, one of those 2 dates. So we're excited. We have a lot planned to bring our kids back to a sense of normalcy.
Thank you, John.
Can I make one other comment? Very important for all parents to know. All the events that are live streamed are recorded. So you would be able to go to Local Live TV or locallive.tv and view the recently recorded event. So if you are working, you won't miss it. If you want to go back and find it, it's there.
That's great, John. And just for our community and for our board, I just want to show you what John just illustrated. So this is our main webpage. If you were visiting any of our schools, you'd still be able to find the Local Live button. So if you just scroll down our main webpage, you'll see the words Local Live right here. And if you choose that and click that button, it's a link that takes you to this website. And you can see that we have some upcoming sports events that will be live streamed for lacrosse on May 20th and May 22nd. But this button allows you to go to recent school events. And here is the celebration of inspiration that we had here. And here is our first concert that we had in the auditorium. So those are recent school events, and then you can choose upcoming school events. And you can see that you have the National Honor Society induction and the 8th grade honors assembly and the middle school talent show and all of the other events, Youth Road moving up ceremony. And you'll see this continue to be populated as the dates are identified. This is really great. And I just want to thank everybody, Jim Rosler and everybody who worked, Josh Nichols, to get this together. And, so please, I encourage you to visit the site, and you can, I think you'd find it a really nice resource. So thanks, John, for mentioning that.
You're welcome.
So let's go to Mr. Pikula.
Yes, thank you. Youth Road is in the process of creating and planning for our Youth Road moving update ceremony. It will be without parents. It will be in person with students, of course, in the high school auditorium, and it also will be local live streamed and recorded for the parents to watch remotely. I'm excited to do it because this is actually going to be my first moving update ceremony at Youth Road. So it's going to be great to see, how it works with our students and to work with the 5th grade staff. The other big thing for the end of the school year are field days. We're planning field day events for each grade level to have some fun at the end of the school year with, of course, some help with our PTA. I know 5th grade will be doing something very special for their students, but those are the 2 big things we have for the end of the school year.
Thank you, Dr. Palachi.
At Kegelbein, we're excited. We're planning our moving up day for our 5th grade students as well. And we plan to do it in the high school auditorium where we can bring all of our 5th grade classes together, socially distanced. And that will be on the Local Live as well as recorded for the families. And then we're also planning our field days. So we're going to have our 2nd and 3rd grades participate in field day one day, and then our 4th and 5th graders together on a field day for a day, so that they can be socially distanced and have some fun outside. We're looking forward to doing some kickball, some relay races, having some minute to win it's. And then we are also preparing a virtual video for our incoming 1st graders. So the 2nd grade teachers are going to tell them a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to give them a little tour of our building.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Dunbar.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Graham. Well, we are currently just buttoning up our art show. As you know, in early May, we would typically have our annual ice cream social and fine art show for Sidway students. Mr. Doherty has done a tremendous job in putting this all on a virtual art show. And Mrs. Carpenter, his student teacher, has been a great help with that too. So that link will be sent out this week to parents to enjoy a virtual art show. We're also working on our orientation video again this year. We're doing kindergarten orientation in that format. And a big thank you to Mark Gorton for helping come down to the school and tape some of the teachers so that it looks a little bit more professionally done. And then our librarian, Janet Bulk, compiles it all together, and that is sent out to parents so they get a feel for what kindergarten is going to look like at Sidway School next year. We did have some great feedback from parents in the past, although it was disappointing to not come to the school and have the bus ride that everyone looks forward to. They could go back and look at that orientation video again, so they didn't have to remember everything on that one day. So we're just finishing that up. That'll be pushed out very soon. And as we're getting close to June here, as Felicia mentioned, the second grade teachers will be putting together a virtual welcome for our first graders. They would typically be coming over for a visit in person, but due to the numbers, that would just be pretty difficult to do. So our first graders will be looking forward to that. We are also going to have our field days. We're very much looking forward to that as really being the one big thing closest to normal that we can have for our kids this June. Our PTA will still be providing t-shirts for the kids. Every class has a color. They're also providing jump ropes and chalk and bubbles for the kids. It'll be divided into 2 days and half days. So kindergarten is 1 day, 5 sections in the morning, 5 sections in the afternoon, and then a similar schedule for first grade on a second date. And they'll also have a live performer that we typically have for first graders on that day. And then finally, on May 22nd, we're laying the bricks that we've sold for the fundraiser for the Sidway Playground. So those will be going on May 22nd. And then we will have a ribbon cutting on June 2nd, knowing that we can't bring a lot of people together. We planned something that would be taped. Thanks again to Mark Gorton for helping us do the ribbon cutting. We will have some members from the chamber present. And then we'll be showing that to the children, and all the children will be treated to ice cream that day. So that will be how we'll wrap up. And it's been wonderful seeing so many kids enjoying our brand new, beautiful playground this spring. They're so very excited about it. It's been the bright spot in this last year and a half. So that's what we have going on at Sidway.
Thank you very much. Anybody around the table have any questions?
I just had a quick one. Do we have the graduation information on the website for what the latest information for the high school graduation of Beaver Island and things like that?
I don't think it's on the website, but I know Cheryl Chamberlain is working with myself and Mike on the communication piece of it. We did create like a tutorial video again, like we did last year, so that's available. I imagine it's going to be pushed out to our seniors and their parents through the Infinite Campus system, but Mike, maybe you can give us any other update. It would only go probably to 12th graders, 12th grade parents.
Yeah, we're super close. We have a draft in place. And
Okay.
We're just kind of finalizing a couple of details that we need to sort out, and then it should be going out relatively soon.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, we did not have anything under Board of Education reports, and we did not have anyone sign up for the public comment session for general items. So that brings us to the roundtable, beginning with Glenn.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that it's great to hear that so many of the traditional end of the school year activities are going to go on in one way or another. So those take an incredible amount of time and planning. So it's just great to hear that the kids are going to have something like that. So thank you for all the hard work on this.
Nicole? Go ahead. Just great to see the kids doing all the different sports, musicals, having their concerts, and I think it'll be nice that everyone will be able to watch those live stream if they can't attend them, so that'll be nice for the kids to actually put them on.
That's it.
Jude. Thank you to all the teachers and administrators working on the end of the year activities. And Denise, congratulations again on your retirement. And Mike, welcome aboard and congratulations. That brings us to Sue.
So ditto to what everybody has said about the administration getting all of our year-end activities rolling. It's exciting times for our kids. It's going to become something great to look forward to. And I have not plugged the Gizmo Golf Tournament in a long time. So welcome back. Remind me of the date. July 19th. July 19th. So Gizmo will be having their golf tournament. So sign up.
Rick and Sky signed up. They're very excited.
It's a great event.
Yes. Joy.
I'm all set.
And you know what, the board has participated in that before. Joy and I golfed. We did. Longest drive was facilitating right here.
Dr. Harris.
Just a reminder, May 18th is budget vote date. And Dr. Graham, I will say this publicly, you were correct about local live. There was many private conversations back and forth when he had said, this is something I want to bring in. And I was like, no. But it seems to be working very well for us as a district and for our families, being able to see things that may have not have been able to be seen. So you were correct. I'll mark it down somewhere.
That is and Cheryl.
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Just a couple of dates. As you mentioned, May 18th is the budget vote and the election. June 7th is our retiree and tenure reception and a Board of Education meeting. With that, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and enter into an executive session for the purpose of the medical, financial, credit, employment history of a particular person, corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of Civil Service Law, discussions regarding proposed, pending, or current litigation.
So before we make a motion, Brian, was there anything you wanted to say to the
Sorry.
roundtable?
Jay, Jay, you and Sandy Cohen and Lynn Zine and Mike Loria and his team did an amazing job with the celebration of inspiration. I know that Sandy Cohen was a driving force and the leader of that presentation. We talked a little bit about inspiring and how important that is in our organization, and that was a wonderful way to celebrate it. So thanks for your assistance with that, and of course Sandy and Lynn Zine and Mike Loria and your team, thank you for the work you did. And if you want to see it, go to the local live button. You can watch it.
Thank you. Okay, if I could have the motion and a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 6-0. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Board.